What's the one skill that can truly make or break your career, your relationships, pretty much everything? It's all about how you handle people, especially when things go wrong. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful lessons from Dale Carnegie's classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, to figure this out. All right, let's get right into it. The very first rule of handling people is actually about what not to do. And we've all been there, right? Someone messes up, and our first gut reaction is to, well, what is it? Let's talk about that and why it's almost always the wrong move. Come on, be honest. When your coworker blows a deadline or your friend forgets something important, what's that little voice in your head just screaming to do? If you're like pretty much all of us, it's to criticize, to complain, to point out exactly what they did wrong. But here's the thing. That impulse, it's a total trap. Carnegie just nails it right here on the slide. Criticism is dangerous because it wounds a person's precious pride and arouses resentment. He understood something fundamental. We're not dealing with creatures of pure logic. We're dealing with creatures of emotion, beings driven by ego and pride. And the second you attack someone's pride, you're pretty much guaranteed to get one thing back: resentment. Think of it like this. Every time you criticize, you're building a wall, brick by brick. It immediately puts people on the defensive. It forces them to justify what they did instead of actually learning from it. And hey, this isn't just some feel-good idea. The famous psychologist B.F. Skinner proved that while punishment might stop a behavior for a little while, it never, ever inspires real, lasting change. So if criticizing and finding fault is so useless, what's the alternative? Well, let's look at an amazing real-world story from the book. It shows a completely different and way more effective approach, especially when the stakes are incredibly high. So meet Bob Hoover. He's this legendary test pilot, and he's flying home after an air show in San Diego in this classic World War II propeller plane. Everything seems totally normal. But then, disaster strikes. Just a few hundred feet up in the air, both engines just cut out. Total, deafening silence. Now, this is a situation where most people would absolutely panic. But Hoover? His incredible skill as a pilot just takes over. Through sheer talent, he manages to crash land the plane. And get this, everyone walks away without a single scratch. It was a miracle. But the plane, this priceless piece of aviation history, was completely destroyed. A total loss. So the first thing Hoover does on the ground is check the fuel tanks. And his worst suspicion is confirmed. Instead of regular gasoline, the plane had been filled with jet fuel. It was all because of a single catastrophic human error. Okay, so just for a second, put yourself in Bob Hoover's shoes. The young mechanic who made this monumental mistake is standing right in front of you. He's sick with shame, tears are streaming down his face. He just destroyed your plane and nearly killed you and everyone on board. What do you say to him? Instead of the absolute screaming fit you might expect, Hoover walks over to the young man, puts an arm around his shoulder, and says this: "To show you I'm sure that you'll never do this again, I want you to service my F-51 tomorrow." Wow. He didn't criticize, he didn't condemn. He restored that man's pride and inspired a kind of loyalty that no amount of yelling ever could. You see, Bob Hoover's reaction wasn't just a random act of kindness. Oh no. It was a masterclass in what Dale Carnegie called the fundamental techniques of handling people. So let's break down the principles behind Hoover's incredible leadership at that moment. And why is this stuff so important? Well, research from the Carnegie Foundation is pretty mind-blowing. It found that even in super technical fields like engineering, 85% of your financial success comes from human engineering, your ability to lead and work with people. Only 15% comes from your technical knowledge. 85%? So here they are, the 3 pillars of Carnegie's entire philosophy. First, the one we've been focused on. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. It just doesn't work. Second, give honest and sincere appreciation. Now, this isn't about cheap flattery. It's about genuinely finding the good in people and actually telling them. And third, arouse in the other person an eager want. This is all about figuring out what they truly desire and then showing them how helping you helps them get it. And here they are, straight from the book, in Carnegie's own words. These 3 simple ideas are the foundation for absolutely everything else. And they're the starting point for transforming how you deal with people. Okay, so how do we actually make this a habit? Well, it really just comes down to a choice.
It's about recognizing that in any given moment, you have a choice between your raw emotional impulse and a more thoughtful and way more effective response.
It's like you're standing at a fork in the road. On one side, you've got our gut reaction to criticize, to blame, to condemn. And on the other, you have the Carnegie way, the Bob Hoover way, to try to understand, to encourage, to inspire. One of those paths builds walls, the other one builds bridges. So, the next time you're faced with a mistake, whether it's big or small, just remember that moment on the tarmac. Are you going to follow that old instinct that only wounds pride and really achieves nothing? Or are you going to choose the path of a great leader, to understand, to forgive, and to build someone up? The choice, as they say, is yours.